Okay, let's just dive right into this. I mean, imagine for a second casually walking into a bank and walking out with nearly $1 billion in cash. It sounds like something straight out of a summer blockbuster, right? But today, we're taking a look at history's biggest bank robberies, where incredibly careful planning, superhuman patience, and just sheer ingenuity completely replace those flashy Hollywood action scenes. We're going to break down exactly how the most notorious masterminds in history pulled off the impossible. Right off the bat, we've got to forget the movies. The reality of these heists is a far cry from what you see on the big screen. These brilliant criminals, they didn't rely on brute force. There were no massive explosions blowing the vault doors off their hinges, and definitely no high-speed car chases through crowded city streets. Instead, the real masterminds relied on fake identities, meticulously dug secret tunnels, and wild psychological manipulation to just vanish with the cash before anyone even knew it was missing. And this brings us to the massive question that we're going to answer today throughout this explainer. As we go through these incredible historical heists, I really want you to keep asking yourself this exact question. How is it actually possible for criminals to steal tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars from places that are explicitly designed to be absolutely impossible to rob? The answers are seriously going to surprise you. We're going to uncover how these mind-boggling heists actually happened, who pulled them off, and ultimately what went wrong. Okay, let's get into exploit number 1, authority. We so often think of thieves physically breaking in, right? But what happens when they're basically just invited to take the money? Our first case isn't just a massive bank robbery. It is quite literally one of the largest cash thefts in human history. The setting? The Central Bank of Iraq. The time is March 2003, just hours before the Iraq War officially began. Bank officials received a very simple handwritten note. Now, this note was reportedly signed by Saddam Hussein himself, and it explicitly ordered the immediate release of the nation's funds. No weapons were drawn. None. It was a heist executed entirely through the exploit of absolute authority. The sheer scale of what happened next is absolutely staggering. Within hours of receiving that single note, trucks pulled up and carried away nearly $1 billion in cash. Yeah, $1 billion. And after the government fell, a massive portion of that money just completely vanished. Now, while coalition forces did later recover some of it, hundreds of millions of dollars remain completely unaccounted for to this very day. It is just a staggering, almost incomprehensible theft. Moving right along to exploit number 2, persistence. So from authoritative bluffs, we go to raw, physical persistence. We're heading to Fortaleza, Brazil in 2005. Honestly, if a screenwriter wrote this, you'd probably tell them it was too unrealistic. To avoid any suspicion from the authorities or the public, this criminal gang rented a small building right in the middle of the city, and they cleverly disguised it as a legitimate landscaping business. It was the perfect cover, right? It easily explained away all the dirt, the heavy equipment, and the constant noise, because secretly, right beneath the floorboards of that fake business, they were digging. Just look at this unbelievable patience. For 3 solid months, they dug. And they didn't just dig some dirty little hole in the ground either. They constructed a massive 256-foot tunnel. They fully equipped this thing with electric lighting, working air ventilation systems, and structurally reinforced walls, driving it directly under the city streets right up to the floor of the Banco Central vault. And man, that persistence paid off spectacularly. Once they breached the vault from below, they escaped with roughly $70 million in cash. And get this, they did it without ever triggering a single alarm. They didn't fire a single shot, and they didn't take any hostages. They just quietly moved all that cash back down their custom-built tunnel. While police did eventually make some arrests, only a fraction of that $70 million was ever found. Which brings us to exploit number 3, psychology. Now here, we see an entirely different approach. In 2004, criminals completely bypassed a vault's physical defenses by attacking human minds instead, a really terrifying tactic known as a tiger kidnapping. Instead of fighting heavily armed guards or trying to crack complicated safes, the criminals targeted the bank employees right at their own homes. The families of 2 bank officials were taken hostage. With their loved ones in immediate, extreme danger, the terrified, panicked employees were forced to unknowingly cooperate and actually help rob their own bank from the inside during their normal work shift. By the time the criminals finally released the families and the dust settled, around $50 million had completely vanished. When authorities investigated, they were absolutely shocked. The realization hit them hard. The greatest weakness in the financial system wasn't the thickness of the vault doors or the sophisticated security tech. It was simply human vulnerability. You can build an impenetrable fortress, but if you compromise the people holding the keys, the whole fortress falls. All right, shifting gears to exploit number 4, technology. Now we're escalating things to a legendary heist that pitted thieves directly against cutting-edge technology. We're talking about the Antwerp Diamond Center. Just think about the sheer, intimidating volume of high-tech defenses this team was up against. We're talking multiple, overlapping layers of intense security. Motion sensors that could basically detect a breath, infrared heat detectors, heavy-duty magnetic locks, and incredibly sophisticated surveillance camera systems. This vault was literally designed to be invincible. But this organized team, they didn't use brute force. They spent years carefully studying, mapping, and reverse engineering every single item on that security list. And the results of all those years of meticulous study? In one single weekend, the thieves bypassed nearly every single defense. They swept through the vault and walked away with diamonds, gold, and jewelry valued at well over $100 million. Investigators were absolutely stunned, later describing it as one of the most sophisticated heists ever committed in human history. The technology was flawless, sure, but the thieves were simply smarter. And finally, exploit number 5, carelessness. Let's move back to 1972 and check out the incredible irony of our final heist at the United California Bank. On one hand, you have this absolutely flawless execution. This crew used elite, professional safecracking techniques to totally breach the vault over a quiet holiday weekend. They smoothly stole $30 million in cash and valuables. I mean, it was a masterclass in burglary. But on the other hand, you have their downfall. And it wasn't some advanced forensic science that caught them. Nope. One of the thieves simply got slappy and accidentally left behind a single careless fingerprint. That one tiny mistake gave investigators exactly the thread they needed to unravel the entire perfect crime. So what did we learn? Let's look at the evolution of security. The biggest takeaway from all these wild stories is that impenetrable vaults don't always stop the smartest criminals. In almost every case we looked at today, success didn't come from guns or explosions. It depended on meticulous planning, insider knowledge, superhuman patience, or just exploiting basic human mistakes. But, banks didn't just sit there and take it. Because of these massive historical heists, modern financial institutions have completely changed how they protect billions of dollars today. They've learned from every single stolen dollar. Now, to counter these mastermind exploits, banks have rolled out biometric authentication, AI-powered surveillance systems that can literally spot anomalies in behavior, real-time transaction monitoring, and much tighter, heavily audited employee protocols to prevent things like those terrifying tiger kidnappings. So I want to leave you with this thought. If human ingenuity can bypass even the most advanced AI and biometrics, is any vault truly secure? Or are we just waiting for the next mastermind to figure it out? I'm genuinely curious to hear what you guys think. Which of these incredible robberies surprised you the most? Was it that billion-dollar note in Iraq, the unbelievable underground tunnel in Brazil, or maybe the brilliant Antwerp Diamond Heist? Let us know your answer in the comments below, and please subscribe to the channel for more fascinating true crime explainers, where we break down the complex world around us. Thanks so much for learning with me today,